It may have been a day late, and Tom Skinner, the TV celebrity, may have been the one leaking ITK information about the statement, but PAI Capital has finally said something about the club. I don't care how you look at this. This is the first step into a potential takeover. And it's a big step because PAI Capital has released a statement saying that it has agreed to purchase the London Stadium. What does that mean? It means West Ham will finally own its own stadium and that West Ham will have full rights to operation of the London Stadium. This is a big step forward, and the statement in general is the start of something, but there are a few bones to pick with it, and I'm going to tell you what my doubts are in this video. PAI Capital has been in talks to buy West Ham United actually for the past few months, but only in the last few weeks or so has it really materialised into something. I have the statement actually next to me on my phone, and in brief, the investment group says that it wants to improve the game day experience at the London Stadium through purchasing the stadium itself. It means the agreement in principle has been there for some time, and there are other members and investors that are interested, as well as some former West Ham players, notably the Ferdinand brothers. Rio Ferdinand did give a quote in this statement, and I'm going to read it a little later on. But what I can tell you is that purchasing the stadium and making it more of a home is definitely a big step forward for this club, because we can't get the bowling ground back, and it still pains a lot of fans that was torn down, because that was West Ham United. That ground was the core of West Ham's working class identity. The current stadium doesn't have that, and even with games we've had scaffolding in the stadium, fans further away from the pitch, and fans who just don't enjoy living in what's called a soulless bowl, to quote some people on Twitter and on YouTube. So improving the game day experience and making it feel more like a home is going to be a task in itself, but it's one that's very achievable with this group, and everyone needs to enjoy going to watch West Ham, not just for the team, but also just visiting the stadium as well. I mean, you have to accept to move on from the fact that the bowling ground's no longer there, but we now have to, be at the London Stadium. It's got I think, 100-year, 99-year lease on it, so we can't moan too much about where we are. We have to just accept it, but we can improve the experience of the game. I'm now going to get on to what PAI Capital has said in brief about taking the stadium and what it means in the future. PAI Capital can confirm that we have reached the core principles of agreement with LLDC regarding a long-term lease over the London Stadium that would see PAI taking full control of the stadium. This would be on condition of PAI successfully concluding a deal for majority control with the current owners of West Ham United. The stadium needs to be a home of which the club and its fans can be proud. The bowling has gone, times move on, and with the right adjustments and under single ownership, we believe that this stadium can meet the needs of fans old and new. It will require changes to the configuration within the stadium itself, as well as extended facilities for fans in and around the ground that will significantly improve the matchday experience. I mean, ownership of the stadium is talked about a lot in this statement. They don't mention anything about structure, recruitment and scouting network, and even improvements to the training facilities, because they can't yet. They say that they don't intend to do that until they've reached a deal to actually buy the club, but at the same time, Philip Beard has mentioned in the past that he does want to improve the overall infrastructure of the club and of West Ham United. So that is definitely something that should be considered before people jump the gun. This statement in general isn't a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, because we've wanted to buy the stadium, wanted to own the stadium for quite some time, and this group's doing that. It's purchasing the stadium. And it's the start I think, in any potential takeover is to gain ownership of the stadium, because it's limiting Sullivan's control. And the stadium's probably one of Sullivan's biggest assets right now, and one of the things that's driving his money. So getting rid of that's going to hinder him a lot. In terms of the ownership of this PAI Capital, former players are getting on board. I'm always a bit sceptical when former players get involved, but some of them, like Tony Cottee and Frankie McAfee, have previously stated that they want to join. I'm not sure if that's still the case, though. But what I can say is that former players do back a takeover at West Ham. I know a lot of the boys from the 1980s do, and even some of the academy graduates, one of whom is Rio Ferdinand, who's also given a short statement and says that he wants to be involved in this. And although Rio Ferdinand is a player that I've got respect for, I know he's been through a lot over the last few years in his personal life, and he's considered one of the best defenders in Premier League history. I have got some issues with him being on the board. I'm going to read his statement and then I'll get on to why I have some doubts. We love this club with a passion. Both Anton and I are really happy that PAI want to come in and help improve the experience for fans. And I'm delighted they have asked us to play a big part in the club if their bid succeeds. Obviously, we know what this club means to the community and how much the fans want to continue to see homegrown talent come through into the first team. It'll be an honour to be able to give something back to a club that means so much to me, Anton, and our family. There's a particular emphasis on homegrown talent come through into the first team. I'll have you know Rio Ferdinand went on Twitter and suggested that Declan Rice moved to Manchester United. So that's quite a contradicting statement to make, Rio. Because this is a man who said that our most valuable asset of a player and our best academy graduate in the last few years should leave. So I don't understand about that, what he means. Anton Ferdinand on board is something I'd take all day, but Rio's someone I'm a bit sceptical about, because he seems to have not made his mind up as to where his position stands with some of these players. Obviously, if he wants to back PAI to come in, that's great. That's good, because I think a lot of fans are backing for this takeover, and I don't see why a takeover is a bad thing, really. People have got doubts about PAI Capital, but I can't see him being any worse than GSB, and the reason for that is GSB have already done the maximum amount of damage they can to the club, stripping away its identity, heritage, and then losing the soul of the club. I don't think PAI can sink any lower than that, in all honesty. But former players are backing this takeover, which is something in itself. And even if they're not physically backing it, they're backing it on social media. And a lot of former players do want these owners out. Paolo Di Canio notably said that he couldn't work for David Sullivan for even one day. And Di Canio's considered one of the West Ham greats. But yeah, Rio's obviously got some connection to West Ham, as does his brother, given that they both played for the club. And I'd have Anton involved all day long, because I like Anton Ferdinand. But Rio, well, I'm not old enough to remember him play for West Ham. I wouldn't have called him a world-class player when he was at West Ham. He became world-class when he went to Manchester United. But at the end of the day, I think if former players are going to back this group, then it's an overall positive. Nazib Piriev and Philip Beard are two other people who spoke in this statement. Beard's the one who was formerly having the negotiations with David Sullivan. He used to be the CEO at QPR. He's the one that made statements in the past about changing the club's infrastructure. Piriev is someone who may be from a wealthy family of oil refinery owners even in Central Asia. But I have some doubts over Piriev, because he and his father were arrested in Azerbaijan for financial crimes, and his father was a former financial aide to former British Prime Minister Tony Blair. Piriev is someone that we need to be a bit careful of, because he might do something stupid. And if they do get, well, I say buying, if they get full control of the stadium, it's not really a case of buying it, it's more or less full control. Buying's just a loose term. They have to really watch how they spend the money, I think. Because Piriev is someone I've got doubts about, given that he was previously arrested for his role in financial crimes. It wasn't specified what, though. But there are lots of investors from overseas that would be joining this. And PAI is a London-based consortium. So that's convenient for West Ham, given that West Ham's also based in London. But it has investment partners in the United States and Asia. And a couple in Europe, I believe. So it is a multi-billion pound investment through joint partnerships at this rate. And it could total nearly £20 billion. So a lot of money, and with that kind of power comes some responsibility. So just a bit of a shepherd's warning from me is the people are saying the right things about buying the club, but we need to be careful with a few bodies in this and just question some of the things that they've done in the past and hope that we don't get a repeat performance at West Ham. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Wheel and Deal. I wanted to summarise my reaction to PAI Capital's statement regarding securing a long-term lease. When I said buying, I meant buying the lease, not the stadium itself. Buying was just a ballpark term, but they can't actually buy it as a government asset. They have to lease it long-term. And it's up to Sullivan to sign over that lease. But I do have the funds, and I hope that this group can actually make something of this opportunity. Thank you very much for watching, take care, and I'll see you all soon.